What's up, Roulette Fools? Brent with AOB, day number 54. Okay, so we left off. We had 2570 is what we made from the last session. We have a balance of 875, and our nice to have 5% is $43 and some change. All right, let's get going to it. So what I'm going to do today, we're going to start off with controlled chaos again because I really like that and I wanted to continue on it and I want to make a change. So I am going to go with a $250 bankroll, and I'm going to tell you how I decided on that. It wasn't just an arbitrary number. And we're going to go with 30-cent units instead of 10-cent units. And I have these saved as bets, the 30-cent units on low and high. And you're going to want to do that because when you start, maybe you want to add extra units to it or whatnot. I just like having saved bets. When you're doing 30 cents, you tend to click, right? We got to get 60 cents here. It's accident prone. So save your bets if you're not doing just straight up chip denominations like 10 cents or $1 or whatever, then you can just, it's a lot easier, okay? So like right here, instead of doing 30-30, we just click it here and we double it up. So I told you I'm going to try to put some real concrete metrics around a lot of the stuff we do. So we're not just going, bet safe and using just sort of adjectives to sort of make it clear as mud, right? So let's talk today about playable balance and what I think about it and how I determine it. You can adjust it for you, of course, which is, I want you to make sure that when you do any of this, when you hear me talking and I say, this is just my opinion, okay? Go listen to all the content creators out there, the other roulette players, the other gamblers, hear what they have to say. Take that all into consideration, make up your own decision. This is just my opinion and it certainly isn't wrong or right, but I don't want to come across like this is the gospel. This is just me. You need to make up your own decision. So here's kind of what I fall on. If you want to be, there we go. Well, it's a win. It's not what we want. And sorry, I got to remember to get the graph up there sooner. Okay, so we're going to rebet. To me, around 10%, 10 to maybe even 20% of your bankroll as your playable balance for that session or that day. Depends on how conservative you want to get. To me, that's a conservative playable balance. 30%, 20 to 30%, that to me is a moderate, and that's sort of where I fall in most of the time, is that moderate category. There we go. That's a good hit right there. Bang. All right. Go back to base hit. And then I think anything over 30%, right? 30 to 50% if you want to go higher. And what I mean by that isn't just if I bring my whole balance in and I want to play with it. If you're willing to risk your whole balance, go for it. That's super aggressive, right? But if you're willing to risk half your balance like I was when I did demoed the session a while back, like I was bringing my whole bankroll. I was prepared to go ahead and go for it. Up to about half, maybe a little over half. All right, we're going to double this because we lost that. And if this was a 0, we're going to stay right here. Let me quickly jump in on this. For those of you that are new, we call this controlled chaos. We're putting 2 units on low, 1 unit on the dozen. We're following the winner. So if we get whacked and it's down here, we're going to put the 2 units on high, 1 unit on the third dozen, and it's a standard 2x martingale progression. So when we lose, we're going to double our bet each time. Oh, come on, give me that 8. All right, here we go. So we're at $1.80 and we're going to double this one up to a $3.60 bet. So 10% to 20, to me, that's your kind of conservative. And a lot of you follow in that, and that's great. If you're more confident or more adventurous, you get in that 20 to 30% range. That's generally where I will fall most of the time. And that is the moderate. And then, of course, anything over 30% to me starts getting to be very, very aggressive. So figure out where you want to be with that. Oh, come on. Man. All right, here we go. Back down to base. All right, we're at a $7.20 bet. So I had $2.50, right? Because our balance was around somewhere around $80, right? Is where we were left off. Let's see, we were at $8.75. So if we were to $90 times 30%, that's $270. I'm at $2.50. So I'm just right around that 30% mark. So that's where I'm comfortable with. All right, what do we got here? There we go. Bang. All right. So that's the first concrete numbers I'm going to give you. And just to be very, very clear, playable balance means we have our bankroll that we have so far. What percentage of that are you going to take out, put the rest in the vault? And that's what you're allowing yourself to play through. Now, if you choose that, my suggestion is you, again, right? You're going to make your decisions, your exit strategies, everything, your game plan before you start playing the game, not once you start playing it, right? So when I have my playable balance of $250, I already walked into this session for this day, however, each session going, this has got to last me for all of my sessions today. If I wipe this, I'm done for the day. But I'm willing to push through all the way to 250. I'm willing to take it. Now, does that mean that if I get to 150 and I lose, let's say I lose $150, that I have to go through? No, there's nothing telling you have to keep pushing on, but I'm giving myself permission and taking that stress out of that decision-making process of going, I'm willing to go all the way through. So have that game plan. We've talked about it. I'm going to keep repeating that. Have your game plan coming in, have your exit strategy. And here in a little bit, I'm going to give you, we've talked about some of these, but I'm going to give you a couple other tips, 5 tips that I've been thinking about that I think are really, really important to make you successful long-term on this, and kind of just start thinking about things differently than maybe we think about it. But figure out where you're in your balance here. I'm at 30% today, and I'll probably start playing with closer to a 30% bankroll playable balance of our bankroll moving forward, and go from there. Yeah. So that's it. That's what I wanted to tell you on that one. So let's talk a couple about these 5 tips that I think are really, really important for you guys to do. And one, we're going to kind of turn it on its head here. So generally speaking, and I agree with it, for normal gambling, treat it as entertainment, not as income, right? That's what this saying goes. And it's true. And I agree with that if you are just gambling for fun. We're not doing that. Our mission now is to make this a real steady income, right? The goal, the overall goal for some of you, and what my goal is for you, and some of you will bring it down to a lower level, like less, maybe it's just some steady side income. We've talked about that, but the purpose that I would love to see is for you guys to build your bankroll to get to a point where you can have steady income, leave that freaking 9-to-5 job that it causes me pain to know that people waste. I don't want to call it waste. Let me rephrase that. Spend so much of their time working for another company that honestly, for most companies, especially bigger ones, you're a number, man. When it comes time to downsizing, they'll look at their bottom line. They're going to do what's best for them, not for you. So I would rather you be investing in you. So rather than treat this as entertainment, not income, I want to flip the script on that. I would suggest you treat this as income. Now, Brent, that's crazy. That's opposite of what everybody says. True. But here's why. When you treat something as entertainment, do you tend to be more carefree with it, or do you tend to be more protective of it, right? Especially regarding money. When we treat this as entertainment, like people go to Vegas, right? That's entertainment. Most people go to Vegas, most, if not nearly all, go to Vegas. Most of them don't even know how to gamble, but they're there for a good time. So when they throw chips on the table, they really, really, really often don't even care. Of course, we want to win. Of course, they're hoping they'll win, but it's entertainment. It's okay. It's like going to a movie, paying for your ticket. That money's gone. You're getting the movie in exchange. When you go to the table or you play, you're getting the experience of playing at the table in exchange for giving them your money. It's a ticket, right? It's a ticket in. I want you to change that. I want you to start considering this to be income, not entertainment. Although we always love to make this as enjoyable and as fun as possible. And I love it. We are, okay, what was our high here before? We're going to keep an eye. $11.10. We're in 40. We're in session profit. We can come back down. Again, I'm using 30-cent units. So I've got 2 units on the high and 1 unit on the dozen. That's 60 cents, 2 units, 30 cents a unit, and 1 unit on dozen, 30 cents. So if you treat it like income, you're more likely to get in that mindset that this is important. This is an investment, not an entertainment expense, right? Look at that. 24, 22, 24. Nothing sweeter than a repeater, but we would much rather those be in the third dozen. Because remember, the third dozen, if it hits the third dozen or the first dozen, depending on where we're at respectively, it pays 4 units versus when it hits the second dozen on our end, 19 through 24 in this case, it pays 1 unit. Excuse me, not 2 units. It pays 1 unit. So it pays 4 times the amount. We really, really, really want to hit high. But there we go. There's the 4 times we're looking for. Okay. Boom, 1290. We're at 11 minutes. So we're doing great. I really like this unit size for the balance that we have. So get that mindset. This isn't disposable. You should be playing with disposable income right now because we're going to build, and all of this is going to be house money. House money. I mean, it's yours, but it's house money. So technically speaking, everything from here on out that we do is going to be with disposable income. All right. So we got that one already covered, but now you're going to treat this with utmost care and responsibility. And we're not just willing to toss it down the drain because we want to have fun, you know? And I've always said, and I'll say it again, play in the casino for fun and entertainment, play online for making money. Does that mean you're going to go to the casino and you don't want to try to play to win? No. But it's so much harder to win in brick and mortar casinos than it is online. Why? For many of us, especially in the US, we don't have single zero wheels or single zero wheels that are affordable. Okay. A lot of the single zero wheels in Vegas are in the VIP rooms with higher table limits. There are some that are regular. MGM Grand is one of the places that has a single zero roulette wheel with La Partage, meaning you get half back on the outside 1-to-1 bets, the high, low, even, odd, red, blacks, right? Even that one is generally around, even that one is generally around $25 min bets, okay? So you can see, in fact, and when people come up to play there, when I go there, and oftentimes, and again, I'm not, please understand, I'm not saying this in any way to flex. I just want you to have an understanding of why brick and mortar is for enjoyment. When you have me or anyone else goes up to a table at that table and they put down, and let's say I buy in for $5,000 or $10,000, what the casino is going to do, they're going to have that little digital display that says table mins. They're going to go from 25, probably easily to 50 or 100. Sometimes when I've been there, they jack it up to 200, depends on how long I've been playing there. Why do they do that? 2 reasons. When they get the really big fish in there, and I'm not a big fish, but when they get the really big fish there, or they have a player that's playing a substantial amount of money, they don't want that player bothered by a bunch of people putting chips all over the table and slowing things down, right? So on one hand, they do it for some of the players to make sure that they're enjoying and feel exclusive. Really, what the casino's doing is they're looking out for themselves. What they want is they want those big fish to bet as fast as possible, because the more you bet, the more often, the bigger the chance is that you're going to be losing more money at the casino, right? If there's a whole bunch of people around the table, it slows down the spins. And so what happens, or the time between the spins, right? Oh man, we are on a nice little run here. Look at this. So what happens is if you want to tier up, right? When you go to a casino, you get a player's card, and when you gamble, the more you gamble, the more tiers you are, you level up, and every level up, you get more rewards. So like at MGM, I'm a platinum. The only level higher in that right now for MGM is called Noir, and it's by invitation only. They don't even list how much you have to gamble in order to get it. I won't ever be there. And I'm plenty happy with maintaining my platinum status. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to tell you how to tier up really easily at MGM. It could probably be done at the other places, but MGM is the primary place where I look to level up the most, because that's where I get most of my benefits. So you're going to go there, and if it's $25 minimum bets, right, you're limited on what you can do. Can you play, there we go. Can you play CYA that takes 14, 15 units? Can you play that with a $25 min bet? That's expensive, right? So it's prohibitive in the casino. Here, we can go as low as potentially 1 penny bets with a 20,000 to 250,000. So it's easy to get in. You got plenty of room to martingale without running out. For almost all of us, you'll run out of your bankroll before you run out of the table max, right? So this is so much better for making money. That's so much better for enjoying and having a good time. Okay. So anyway, so treat this as income, protect it, be wise with it. Don't just toss it away. The other thing that I was going to tell you, and I've mentioned this one before, I think this is maybe one of the only repeats that I'm coming up with that I've told you before, is know the strategy. I mean, know it. Don't just have it memorized from seeing me or Casino Matchmaker or the Roulette Master or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Kirk with Cruising and Craps. Don't just memorize the chip placements. Know the payouts. Know what it's going to be like to recover when you start getting down. Have that experience and remember it. Okay. And that's really important, because if all you're doing is memorizing, I've talked about this past, you need to know how to play these things. So pay attention, play them as frequently as you can, pay attention to it. Don't do what I do, right? Misbet while I'm talking to you guys. Pay attention, start learning the payouts. Now, these are very simple. And if I were to ask any of you, okay, right now, what's our payouts? You should all be able to look at this bet right now and know what the payouts are. And if I said, well, what happens if it hits 19 and 24? Where does that go in our recovery? You should all say, that's not going to recover us because XYZ, this only pays 1 unit. This pays 4 units. And our unit right now is 60 cents. So if this hits, it's going to be a 60-cent profit, but we were down 90 cents, right? You're going to know those things. And it's important because as you're laying your bets, you want to know, okay, what am I looking for? What's my next step for my next progression? And how does that look? What's my exit strategy? So that all plays into it. So really learn the payouts, learn the different types of bets that are all available. Take some time, okay? The corners, the splits, the streets, the dozens, know all that in the payouts. Boom, I know that's a recovery in one hit right there and profit. Boom, $20. We're at 18 minutes. Okay, we're going to call it a session here. I'm not pushing it. We did great. We're at $20.40, 18 minutes. We were using 30-cent bets. We were doing 30%, roughly 30% playable balance of my bankroll. And that's what we're going to do in the next session. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and we'll get back to the other 4 tips that I have for you. Plus, if we have time, I'll talk to you about how to tier up quickly and easily at MGM and probably all the other casinos. It will end up being the same. I'll tell you how to do that and give you some tips there. If I don't get to that today, then we'll do it on the next day. All right, cheers. Okay, fools, back for our second session. We are at 2040 here, doing well. We're going to stay with controlled chaos today. And I realized that I had gone through 2 of my 5 super duper tips. So we have 3 left. So the other one that I was thinking about is creating a schedule for your play. All right. Now I know that seems weird, but just hear me out on this. And this doesn't necessarily mean you have to, or this is for everybody. Some of you like the ad hoc, play whenever you want to. But the reality is when you have a job, right, you have a schedule for most people. I know with COVID and everybody working from home, things changed and you have some flexibility. But for overall, right, you have a job, it's Monday through Friday or whatever that is. You have that routine. I would love to see you get in that routine because remember, we're treating this as income, not just as entertainment. And I think getting into routines is very, very important. And I go back to, again, personal training as sort of an analogy of going, you got to get to the gym, get into that rhythm, get into that routine and make it habit. And the more you make it habit, the easier it is. And it is beneficial in 2 ways. One, it sets that time aside that you are going to focus. You're not just going to mess around all day, then come in. And if you find that you start getting behind because you missed the first 2 sessions you were supposed to be at, now you're betting bigger, right? You see the problems with that. But if you know you're going to stay focused, oh, I'm playing from this time to this time, this time to this time. And we all know there's a little flexibility. Life gets in the way. The other piece of that is so that you don't forget that you have a life outside of this. This is way too easy to get sucked in on the computer in front of this. Time flies. Ask me how I know. I get up in the morning, and next thing I look at my watch and it's 8 p.m. at night, and then it's 10 p.m., then it's midnight. I'm like, where the heck did the day go? So by giving yourself a routine, it's not only getting you in the groove of when you're coming, and you can plan on those sessions and you can track it, and it just becomes muscle memory, but it's also going to be like, hey, my time is up. I'm out of here. Or maybe you get up in the morning and you know you need to go clean the kitchen, but you're like, oh, I'm going to just run downstairs or whatever and go play a couple rounds. That couple rounds turns into a couple hours. Next thing you know. So we don't want to get burned out on this, right? Don't forget that you have a lot of stuff outside of this. This is a job and we're going to treat it as such. Get away from it. Close the door. I really highly recommend, if you're playing on a laptop, don't start getting the habit of taking the laptop outside of your office hours and you're watching a movie with the family and you have your laptop and you're gambling. Be present. Okay. So when you're with your family, with your friends, even on your own, reading a book or whatever, be present. Does that mean never take your laptop and play? No, of course. You got extra time or you've got nothing else going on and it's a total down day and you want to play. You've done your sessions like we talked about and you want to get extra. So you're going to bring your bets way, way down. You're going to go watch the latest episode of Gilmore Girls and you're going to be betting penny bets or maybe 2-cent, 3-cent bets. And you're going to sit here and just play, get to know the game, see how things work out. It is good experience if you go with pennies because you can really see what is the deepest it went and you're not risking a bunch, right? You give yourself a very low playable balance, but you're also adding to your bankroll with low risk. So there's times when you can do that, but get away, okay? Get away, shut this off, go outside, live your life. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot more out there in that world than gambling online, okay? Don't just be a keyboard warrior. Do something else. Go volunteer, as we talked about. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Give and help others, okay? So that is the third thing that I was thinking about. Where are we at here? Oh, man, we are on a winning streak, right? The fourth tip that I could tell you, and this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to kind of figure out how to say this, but you got to be willing to gamble. And I've talked about this in the past, which is we want to play smart. We want to play safer as possible. Safer, and it's not safe, but it's safer, right? We want to play as safe as possible, safely as possible. And there's times, though, that you need to bite down on your mouthpiece and follow through. It's just going to happen. Now, that's why you have your plan when you come in, and I have my $250. Do I lose 3 times and I get scared and I stop? Okay. Sometimes you got to play it through. You got to take that chance. And that's why you have that playable balance loss limit. So you're taking, all right, it's not the win we want. Remember, this pays 1 unit. Does that break us even? Nope. Because this pays 1 unit. We're going to need to win twice over here. You got to be willing to bite down. This is gambling. Make no mistake about it, right? So there are going to be times when you're going to have a little bit of a backbone and just, grin and bear it. Your stomach may be in knots, etc. But you're going to have to, at times, be going, you know what? I see I'm just slowly, my session is just slowly dying. Oh, great. Okay. We went through that great run and now it's hammering us. All right. But we're still really far away. We're only on our 3rd progression. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's times if you play it too conservatively and you're just going at it, sometimes you just got to go all in. Now, I don't want you getting comfortable with that. I want that to be nervous for you. I always want that to be like, oh, I really don't want to do that. You want that, right? The day that you start placing and you're going all in, you're like, whatever happens, happens. That's the day that you're going to need to do a self-check. All right, we were just outside, so that does not recover us. We're going to go back in. I was hoping it was going to hit right at the 6 instead of the 13, but we'll take it. A win is a win. Okay, so be prepared to gamble at times. This is gambling. It is high stakes at times. That's the nature of this business. If that's not for you, if you're like, if this whole thing is like troubling for you, which is not, that's understandable for a lot of people, right? This isn't for everybody. Gosh, dang it. All right, here we go. Fourth progression. All right, we're at $7.20. So right now, I'm already thinking, I've given myself my permission to go all the way through. Right now, I'm already starting to think I'm at $23. I lose this. Suddenly, I'm at what, $16-ish. I could reset and go back to base bet. I've made my decision. I'm going to go ahead and play through at least a couple more progressions. And that would have been lovely if that were a nice high. What was our bet? 720. All right. 1440. I decided I'm going to bite down on this and go ahead and go through it. And part of it also is I want you to be able to see what recovery looks like on these strategies. I want you to see how deep these strategies can go. So this isn't just about me building my bankroll. This is about us looking at this and going, how does this play out? Come on, give us a low number. That's what we wanted right there. Let's go. Booyah. Booyah. All right. Our nice to have 5%, as we were talking here, is what, $45? $43.76, $45. That's the nice to have, right? That's 5%. 2 sessions in, 1.5 sessions in, and we're at $35.70. So you can see how taking a higher playable balance in a bankroll, it has its risk, but it very much has its, no, I wanted that 4. All right. Now I'm wanting to win every time, right? Isn't that weird? We had a nice long run of wins. Then it's like, you get 1 or 2 losses. You're like, what the, you get used to it. That's okay. Happens to all of us. But yeah, be willing to gamble. And if this really is tearing you up, if this is making you a nervous wreck, this isn't it. Don't do it. This isn't worth your, oh my. All right, I'm going back down low. Oops, not that far. And it definitely isn't for everyone. And it may seem appealing, it may seem enticing, but it takes a certain characteristic and a certain disposition to want to do this and put yourself through this. And every day, right? You go to a job, sure, you've got the stresses about having to deal with the boss, having to get this done, but that paycheck's coming. You're not going to lose money at your job. There we go. You're not going to lose money at your job, right? At least not most people's jobs. Maybe you're self-employed and you could not necessarily lose. Well, you could lose money, but maybe you don't make any money if you don't get any customers. So that's that. And the last one, and I can't stress this one enough. This last one is absolutely 100% positively listen to your gut. Listen to that little inner voice inside. If it's telling you something's off, don't bet, whatever, don't bet. Listen to it. I can't tell you how many times, especially when I've been in the casino, but it happens here too, where I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I just say, we're here to gamble. Those are the words of death right there. I'm telling you like that. If you're on the live streams and you hear me say, well, we're here to gamble, that basically means, fuck it. I don't care. We're doing it no matter what. That's not what you want to get to. Boom. There's our booms. All right. So, listen to your gut. If it tells you don't do something, don't do it. You can wait. And maybe you're going to see that, oh, I should have gone in and we won anyway. That's okay. Because I would much rather not bet, and because my gut says don't do it, and then I bet and it would have been a winner. That's much easier for me to live with than if my gut says don't do it and I do it and I lose. That one's much more difficult to live with. So even if listening to your gut doesn't necessarily even result in better or worse overall, it's much easier to live with going, missed opportunity versus why did I do that? I knew I shouldn't. Then you're going to beat yourself up and you're going to second guess yourself. So just listen to your gut feeling and it'll get better and better at the more that you play. It's just like anything else. But definitely, yes, man, we're just doing really well. So we're going to keep going here. We're at $40. This is the time because this is only our second session, right? This is what I'm talking about, that we have now set ourselves up where if we are able to end this session nicely, or even right here, you bring your bets back down to 10-cent units. Why push it, right? We're already in a really good place. We've only had 2 sessions so far. We don't need to keep our bets up here. We can bring our bets down. So if I opt to do a third session, which I probably will, we will probably do that. I'll probably go from a 30-cent unit back down to a 10-cent unit. Can that still get expensive? Sure, but not as expensive, right? It gives us maybe 1 to 2 progressions extra for the same amount of money. And that can be the difference between busting and winning is 1 progression. Okay. So take every single progression. Don't ever look at like, oh, it's just one extra progression. Trust me, get into our Discord, ask how many members busted and it won on the very next progression. Happens all the time. All right. So 1 extra progressions are life, right? All right. There you go. There are my 5 tips for today. I was sitting there thinking about everything as a player, what you can do, not just which strategy should I play? How many progressions should I have? What are all the other pieces that go along with making this a successful experience for us all, right? And I think those are really important. If you got some more, put them down in the comments. Even better, get in our Discord and let everyone know there. It's easier for people to access it and come back and see those things. And maybe I'll start putting together a list that people can add on. So anyway, there's that. When we come back in the third session, bullocks. All right, here we go. When we come back in the third session, I'll tell you my opinion on how I tier up at MGM relatively quickly. I usually do it in 1 visit. I try to get it done on the very first visit. So when I go down for Super Bowl weekend here coming up, by the way, go Indiana Hoosiers. I just watched the game. They just finished beating Miami. Congratulations to those guys. Oh, come on. All right. They're going to make this hard on us at the end, aren't they? All right. 720. And because we're up so nicely, I may not chase this one to the 1440 bet. I may just let it end at 720. And that would put us somewhere around $28 still. And we can come back in a third session and maybe I'll leave it up at 30-cent units and play for a little bit and see if we can get on a good run and then drop it down to 10-cent units. All right, I'm going to go one more. So that was 720. Here we go. You know what? No. We had a $250 bankroll. We're at $264 right now, plus the $14 bet. We're still up $28. We're going to go. We got a couple more progressions. Sometimes you got to bite down on your mouthpiece and be willing to go. Okay. Sometimes you got to do it. And that's when you listen to your gut. My gut's telling me, let's go. Let's go for it. Boom. Sometimes you just need to listen to your gut, and sometimes you just need to gamble. All right. We're going to call this a very successful second session. 16 minutes into it. We're at a 48, which is well over, it's about $5 or $4 over our nice to have goal. So that's very successful for us. And we're going to come back for one last session. I'm going to drop our bets down. We're going to keep going. I'll probably go 10 cents. I might even go 5-cent units, right? There's no reason for us to really push it that hard. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you how I tier up at MGM and get my free suites, free cruise, free airfare to Vegas, free play. They give me money to play, free slots, and a ton of free food and beverage comps that I rarely ever run out of when I'm there. I don't eat them. I don't use it all. So you get to eat. When I go there, it's pretty much all free. All right, we'll hit that when we come back. I'll be back in a little bit after a break. Cheers. Okay, gang. Here back for our third and final session. We are at $48. Booyah. And we are going to move down from 30-cent units to 10-cent units. So instead of a 90-cent total bet, we have a 30-cent total bet. Now we're actually going to have a little more fun with this when it's possible. It's not always going to be possible because of coverage limits, but one of our really active members, James, JEC, really likes playing 2 dozens. And what his method is he waits for a dozen to hit twice, and then he bets on the other 2. If he loses that, like he would have just now, he waits until another dozen hits twice. Now, I don't know if that includes the dozen that just hit here, James. If it hits a 27, does that mean it's another 2 on that dozen? Or do you wait till it gets completely off this dozen and then wait for 2 more? Now, we're not able to do that bet. I want to play both our strategies, but it's not always going to work, because if we're here and we want to cover the first and second dozen, it won't let us, because we're covering the entire board, and it's not going to let us do that. So we'll have to take a look at it. If it works out to where we can cover the first and third dozen, the first or third dozen, because it hits the second dozen twice, we'll go in on it and we'll just add it to our bets here, and we'll do 10-cent units. And now he does a 4x multiplier on the very first, on the second progression. All right, sweet. We love that when we lose. Here we go. So we're going to do a 4x. I'm just going to stick with the 3x multiplier. I'm just going to do, because that gets us into recovery and profit every hit. I'll have to get more details, James, from you on that, on why you are, I can't remember. I think I asked you and you told me why you are extra aggressive on it. I can't remember what the reasoning was, but all right, let's see. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. 240. Okay, let's get down to some fun stuff. You want to go to Vegas. You want to have a good time. Why not get free room and board? Why not get free food and beverage comps? Why not get potentially, if you tier up enough, a free cruise every year? Why not get your airfare sort of reimbursed once a year? And I'll tell you how that works. Why not get all these things? So, come on. All right, what was our bet? 240. All right, 480, and we're going to go first and third because it hit 2 of the dozen. So we're going to go, it hit the second dozen twice. So we're going to put 10 cents on that, and we're going to add 10 cents to this third dozen. So we're going to play it as a complete, separate, independent bet to what we're doing right here. Come on, third dozen. That's exactly what we wanted. Booyah. There we go. We won on both those bets, so we won an extra 10 cents on top of that. Okay, so when you start up, you go get a player's card at MGM, and it's good for any of the MGM casinos anywhere in the world. They're not just in Las Vegas, but let's just be talking about Las Vegas. You got, you got the Luxor, you got the Mandalay Bay, you've got MGM Grand, you got Park MGM. All right, there we go. This is what we're talking about, right? So you have all these MGM properties there, and you can take your player card, and even if you're staying at one of the MGM properties, when you go play at any of them, you get all that play counts. How do they calculate the points to give you for your tiers, right? Because they say from 0 to 10,000 points, you would become bronze. And from this to this, you become this. And from this point, you move forward. Basically, when you play at a table, the pit bosses are going to come around and they are going to look at your bets, and they put it, there's little tablets there, and you'll see them going like this all the time. They'll usually have like a pen with like the touch thing, and you'll see them doing this on their tablets and kind of looking at the table. What they're doing is they know who you are and which chips you have, and they have your player IDs on that screen, everybody at the table. And what they're doing is they're entering in the amount of your bet at that moment, okay? Because the way they're going to calculate your tiers is what is your average bet size for how long of a period of time, right? So the more you bet over a longer period of time, you're going to get way more points. So here's a couple tricks. One is when you go to the table to bet, well, first of all, let me back up a second. Generally speaking, blackjack, baccarat, craps, they suck at getting tier points. All right, we're going to just rebet this one. We're going to stay here because it was a 0. They suck at getting tier points. Why? Blackjack, the pit bosses, for whatever reason, don't really come around, and they're not looking they just don't input it as much as they do at the roulette table. Craps is so busy, the pit bosses rarely look down. So do you get any points? You get some, but here's how they're going to generally calculate your points at the craps table, blackjack, baccarat, and whatnot. Okay. All right, we're at $240 bet, and I'm continuing to wait till it hits either the dozen that we're on that we're winning, which we could have bet it here when it was hitting this 32. I wasn't paying attention. When we were winning these, we should have bet. No, we can't bet second. So we're waiting for the second dozen to hit twice. Then we can play that other type here. There it is. All right, we're going to rebet, and we're going to add a unit here, and we're going to add a unit to this one. All right, so they're going to take, they're at the craps table and stuff. They're going to go, how much did you deposit? So let's say you walk up to the craps table and you say, give me $200 of chips, please. $200 worth of chips, please. The pit boss, they'll usually hand the player card to the pit boss, and the pit boss will say, how much did they buy in? They'll say, oh, they bought in for, all right, bingo, bango, bongo. We'll take that. And you'll say they played in for $200, and he'll put $200 deposit in there. And what they'll often do is, based on that amount, they'll just extrapolate what they figure your average bet size is going to be. So they might go, your average bet size is $5, $10, $15. And they won't even really check. And then when you leave the table and you color up, which means to give the dealer all your chips and say, I'm ready to walk away, cash me out. The dealer's going to tell the pit boss, color up. The pit boss come over. Who is it? It's that person. They bought in at $200, and let's say you had a really good session and you left with $400. Well, they're going to write you put in $400. The casinos are going to know that you made money. However, if you have a decent loss, they might give you a couple points towards that, because also your P&L your profit and loss may take into consideration. But to simplify things, let's just go with, they're going to take your average bet size and the duration of time that you play, and that's going to calculate how many points they're going to give you. So how can you get the most points for your buck? All right, I'm going to tell you right here. Here's the way one. You're going to go to the table and you're going to get as many chips as you're going to cash in and buy as many chips as you can. All right. So if you have $2,000, doesn't mean you have to spend it. Go up, give the dealer $2,000, and tell them you want nickels and quarters and black. So they're going to give you color chips, which are good only at that table. Okay. You can't leave that table with those chips. If you do, when you come back, they'll only give you at most $1 per chip, even if you bought in at $5. But you're going to color it and you're going to get, say, $2,000. I normally go in and I buy quarters. I ask them for quarters. I ask them for green chips, which are quarters, $25 chips. And I ask them for black chips, which are $100. Sometimes I'll ask for purple chips, which are $500 chips. Okay, we are on a nice little run streak here. So what you do is you get your different denominations. The pit boss has multiple tables that they got to wander, so they can't watch you every single spin. So what I do is when the pit boss comes over, I load up. I have a bunch of black chips, $100, and I start placing black chips on the board like I'm going to bet. Now, the pit boss, sometimes they'll stay there all the way through the spin, in which you're just going to have to pull your bets off if you're not prepared to do it and go lower. That's fine. But most of the time, they'll come over and then the spin begins and you're going to want to be prepared to take your chips off. So now the pit boss just put in, oh, Brent's betting, $1,000, $500, and they may not come back every single spin. You are now locked in at $500 between now and when they enter in the next thing and for that time period, right? And what did we just play on? We're on low. All right. So that's one way to artificially increase your points. And I do it all the time. And it's not cheating. It's not stealing. It's none of that. It's gaming the system. It's using the system against them. Because ultimately you got to remember, they're after your money. They have the house edge purposefully, right? So we've got to do what we can to give us some advantages. And one of those advantages is getting tier points in an easier way. So artificially. The second thing you're going to want to do when you're sitting at the table before you leave, maybe about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes before you leave the table and you're about to cash in, when the pit boss is there, very politely say, excuse me, could you please tell me what you have for my average bet size? Okay. And they'll all the time say, yeah, no problem. And they'll look in their computer and they will go, what was that, $1.20? We're going to 240. They'll look in their computer and they go, oh, I have you down for $40, average $40 bet size. Now, if you know for a fact you've been betting more for that, then just politely contest it and say, the lowest bet that I have done has been $125. A couple of times I brought my bet down just because I lost a couple and I wanted to do a couple spins out. There we go. That's what we wanted. They're usually very accommodating and they'll usually go, okay, and they'll adjust it. Sometimes I feel like they don't really adjust it. They just tell me because I go check my points and they're not nearly what I think they should be. Now, if you go to the same table during your stay there, and because I play almost exclusively roulette at the MGM Grand now, it's the same dealers, the same pit bosses. They know me now. I go there, they know me. So what's cool is I have a really good relationship with the pit bosses, and I have a good relationship with the dealers, and I tip well along the way. And the dealers see that, the pit bosses see that I'm giving back, and they're generally more generous with me. So oftentimes I will come down and I'll ask the pit boss, hey, what do you have for me? And they'll look at it and they'll know that I've been modulating my bets. And he goes, I'm going to give you $600 per spin. How's that? Is that okay? And I could literally say, could you make it 800? And I sometimes I do if I really want to get my points up and I'm behind. But in general, they're already being very generous with me. So that's just one way that you can get your points up. And then the other way that's good is if you're going to play at a table, find the busiest table you can find. And we kind of talked about this earlier about the VIP tables and the higher limit tables. Go to a regular table and find one that's packed because it's going to play so slow. So when they put your average bet size in there, it's time-based, not spin-based. It's not based on the number of spins you play. It's based on the amount of time you're there at the table. So you're betting fewer times and you're sitting at the long and you're just sitting back going, take as long as you want, right? So that's the advantage of playing at a really, really, really busy table. The other things you can do, if the pit bosses are not very active on your table, when they come over, they do it. But let's say it's really busy night and they're at the other tables. Maybe they're putting out fire somewhere else because someone said they got a bad payout and the pit boss are taking care of that. Don't bet. Don't bet if you don't want to. I mean, or bet minimum or something along those lines. So if your primary goal while you're there is to get free drinks and get your tier up points, not necessarily to gamble, because maybe you've already gambled, right? I like to do shorter sessions when I'm in the casino. When I'm in the casino, I don't do 15-minute sessions, but I normally do 1 to 2 hour sessions. If I'm trying to build my tier points, like I will be when I go down in February, I want to get all my tier points for the whole year so that every trip after that, I don't even have to worry so much about playing. I can just play for enjoyment. I don't worry about my bet sizes, none of that. I will stay at the table for 4 to 6 hours at a time easily, and I'll play. And I will try to wait until the table is pretty busy, but oftentimes, like I said, at the single zero wheel table, it's got a higher table limits. Usually, you don't have very many people playing at that table, so it's a little harder to game the system when you're the only person there. Okay, man, we're doing well. Look at this. If we had stuck with the 30-cent units, ooh, doggy. All right, so that's another way of how, when you're doing your play, that you can get way more points without it actually costing you that much. All right, now here's another way. Go to the ETG tables, right? The ETG machines, electronic table gaming, and find the roulette one. It's got a real roulette wheel up there, but you got big monitors and you're sitting at a station. And it's usually fairly empty, or there's a lot of spaces. Go to 2 stations that are sitting next to you. Even better if you have your partner with you, or if you have your friends with you. Go get yourself multiple player cards. They don't care how many you have. You can they have kiosk machines where you can put your driver's license in and it'll spit you out your player's card. Go get a couple players card and play 2 machines at once, or have your partner use your player card. Now, the downside to that is potentially, if you were to hit some sort of jackpot, which we're not betting enough and we're playing roulette, there's really no jackpot to be had. If you were to play a jackpot and they were to rerun the videos and see that they could possibly say, okay, we're not going to pay out. We're not playing those kind of monies with those kind of jackpots. That's going to require them to come over and fill out a tax form, all right? And if you are playing with that amount of money, you're not worried about tier up points because you're going to get plenty of points as it is. So I'm talking $5 bets, right? So when I go with my daughter, especially, she's playing with my card, I'm playing my card, we're playing $5 units. You would be blown away by how many tier points I get just doing that on multiple machines, okay? All right, what was that? That was a 30-cent bet. All right, here we go. So that's the way. All these ways are ways that you can go and very easily get your points jacked up. Outside of that, here is one of the easiest way, at least in MGM, they have a status called Pearl. And generally speaking, Pearl status is where you kind of need to get to before you start getting any kind of room comps. I'm not saying that they will absolutely not give you any room comps, because they may have promotions. And even though you're only the very basic, and I don't remember what the basic level is at MGM, you may get something in the mail saying, hey, come, we'll give you 2 nights free and, a certain amount. But if you want to be able to book anytime you want and pretty much get 3 to 4 nights comped for you, along with food and beverage credits and some gameplay credits, usually it's in the form of slot play. All right, we're going to have to rebet this because it hit here, which only pays 1 unit, which did not get us back to where we needed to be. Here's what you can do. And this isn't for everybody. This is for people with really good credit, or that you don't mind having another credit card. Get the MGM credit card. It's got 0 fees, 0 annual fees. Don't even use it. Get it, because with the MGM player card, that's what we wanted. You get automatic Pearl status as long as that card is open. You automatically get Pearl status. You don't need to go to MGM and play and get the tier up points every year to get to Pearl status. You automatically get Pearl status just with the card. And you can throw that baby in your firebox or your safe or whatever, and never even use it. There's no spending requirements. There's no annual fees. So if you have decent credit and you don't mind getting another credit card, and I'm not encouraging you to get more and more credit cards if you can't, don't ruin your credit over this. But if you're in a good place where that doesn't matter, go get it. You're automatic Pearl status. Okay. And with Pearl status, you can still get some free rooms. Now, you're going to get the regular rooms, which is fine. There's nothing wrong. I don't even mind staying in regular rooms. I get the suites, but honestly, I don't spend that much time in my room. I go there to sleep and shower and I live stream. That's why I like a little bit more room, because I in the past I've been live streaming there. But honestly, I could care less. But you're going to get a free room. Now, that's Pearl status. With the free room, you're still going to have to pay the resort fee usually and your taxes and stuff. Okay. When you get up to gold status, which is 2 more above Pearl, when you get to gold status, they start waiving your the resort fee. So now when they give you free room, you get it all for free. You don't have to pay the $45 a day resort fee, which is just outrageous, right? So, all right, 20. I was hoping that was a 28. I couldn't quite see. All right, we're at 20 minutes. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. I just wanted to kind of finish up on that. So that's the easiest way to get yourselves a couple free nights whenever you want to go down to Vegas. If you do manage to work yourself up, take a look when you go down to Vegas at MGM. They have something all the time. It's usually constantly running, even though they say, oh, this goes through the end of the year. It's called tier accelerator points, which means, and they have a little chart. If you get in one day, in 24-hour period, oh, dang, burn it. What was that? 60 cents. All right, we're at 120. If you get X number of points, let's say 5,000 tier points in one day, they will match that and give you an extra 5,000. So I've gone down there usually, and I'll have to, they've always had the tier accelerator points, even though they say it's a promotion period. So they go down there. It's very likely that I will get almost half of my points paid for by the accelerator. I won't even earn them. Okay. So I'm going to get them down there. All right. 120. Let's just go for one more win and call it quits. Or one more. Let's recover and call it quits. So that's another way to check out those tier accelerators. Play. You can check on the mobile app. If you download the MGM app, you log in and you can see what your points are and where you're at. And there'll be the tier accelerators there. And it'll tell you at the end of every day, that usually the next day, here's how many tier accelerator points you got if you even qualify. Come on now. Now it's being tough because it knows it's our last one. All right, 480. Come on now. All right, so $48, right? Is that what we said? $48 was the... excuse me, $43.76. So $44 was our nice to have. We're at 55 and we're over time. If we lose this one, I think I will just pull the plug and walk away with $50. Yeah, we're just going to walk away with $50 and that's okay with me. Look at this, $50.90. I'm not going to risk going any deeper. It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, I hope any of this that I've said today is of any use to you guys whatsoever. If it's not, it's okay. It's just my opinion and it's free and you can just toss it out if it doesn't make sense to you. But for certain, the MGM stuff, those are tips and tricks that can help you get to the point where I'm platinum. And with my platinum, I get to book 4 nights as many times as I want during the year, but I get 4 nights and then I have to wait 3 days before I can get another 4 nights. Now I can contact my host, and if I actually had a lot of gameplay the last time, they'll normally often waive that and will say, well, how long do you want to stay? And like last year, I was staying for 12 nights, all free, right? So it just depends on your host. But I can book for 4 nights. Like we're going down to Vegas. I'm booking for 4 nights. I got the 4 nights of the 2-bedroom executive suite at Mandalay for free. And then they gave me the remaining, because I'm staying there for like 8 days. They gave me the extra nights for like $25 a night or something. It's ridiculously cheap for a suite. I mean, I think out of pocket, I'm paying for 8 or 9 nights. I'm paying like $210 or something. It's really, really super affordable. So free that. I'm getting like $1,300 in food and beverage credits for those 4 nights. I'm getting like $1,100 in slot play. And I'm actually on the low end. If you wager a lot of those platinum players, they get a lot more than I do, but this is more than I can use. So the guys that are joining me down there, we're going to go out for a really fancy dinner. I told them I'd take all my food and beverage credits and we could go out to either one really good dinner or have several medium dinners throughout the whole weekend. It's up to those guys, or free food and drinks at a nice bar or something like that on the MGM properties. Anyway, look at this, $50.90. What an outstanding session. And we're going to try a couple other strategies, but we're going to start increasing our bankroll, our playable balance to around 30% of our bankroll moving forward. And let's see how that goes over the long run. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're sticking to it. And let me know how you're doing in the comments. I love reading the comments and seeing where you're at in your challenge. It really helps me also adjust if I need to fine tune anything on what we're doing here. If I'm like, I think I better show them how to, my opinion on this and this. So anyway, that's it. Be good humans. I'm sorry for running over. I'll see you guys next time. Us against the casino. Let's stick it to them this year. All right. Let's make this our life plan. We are going to do this. You can do this. We can do this. All right. Cheers.